Happy New Year. You realize that it is January 4th, 2023. It always takes us a couple of minutes to get used to saying the new year. Because the last year, some people have commented on the last year seemed to have gone by so fast. And yet, here we are at this very moment, 4 days into the new year. So, happy New Year. Happy New Year. And I've always, this is just a little quip on my part, Mabel. I always get a little taken back because is it Happy New Year or is it Happy New Year's? Always get a little confused on that. Is it Happy New Year or Happy New Year's? So I get a little now. I don't get now. You understand? I don't get hung up on it. I don't get hung up on it, but it does cross my mind. Are we supposed to say Happy New Year or Happy New Year's? Yeah. Either way it go, we're here. It's a new year. We're 4 days into it, and without question, we have a lot. We have a lot to be grateful for. A lot to be grateful for. We have a whole lot. Sunshine County, we have a lot to be grateful for. So, hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Life Study podcast. And this happens to be your host, Dr. Abraham Shanklin Jr. And one of our goals tonight, as this is our first life study of 2023, one of our goals is to not only help you to become a better version of yourself, but I will add that if one of your goals is to be happier, then today's episode is for you. If one of your goals is to be happier, then today's episode is where I definitely want you to tune in. It should be at least a mission for us to find happiness in our life. And I believe I said it in one episode last year. Nobody's responsible for your happiness. You're responsible for your own happiness. So if one of your goals for 2023 is to be happier, then yeah, today is going to bless you. This episode is going to bless you today. Okay, so let's just get on and let's just make ourselves comfortable wherever we might be. And as always, this is where you want to have a pen and paper, or pencil and paper, whichever you feel most comfortable with writing with. I would suggest for this year that every time you get an opportunity to join me, that you would keep a journal. I think that one of the great goals for 2023 should be for you to keep a journal so that you can log a lot of the things that you're going to learn this year. If you know that you're going to learn a lot, yeah, you want to be able to record it, because if you're like me, it's going to be very difficult to remember everything. So I want you to get into a position and a posture of expectation, because there's going to be a lot of download uh, flowing this year. A lot of download, a lot to feast on. I mean, you're gonna eat so much, you're just gonna feel stuffed. Um, that old funny adage that if you eat Chinese food, you'll be hungry in another hour. Not what I serve. When I feed you, you're gonna be full. You'll feel like a tit on a bull. It's going to be so much. So if you thought that there could be more to disseminate, to distribute, to communicate, to talk about, then you're absolutely right. There's so much more. So, like for instance, some of the things. Let me just give you just a blurb of some of the things that we're going to be touching on in Life Study this year. So one of the things that we're going to be touching on is stolen focus. We're going to be talking about stolen focus, and that is So here's what this episode is going to be. That episode is going to be talking about. It's going to talk about why we can't pay attention. Yeah, you'll want to show up for that one. Stolen focus. Why we can't pay attention. Why I'm going to have an episode to talk about why is it so difficult for us to pay attention. Why is it difficult for us to have focus? So we're going to have an episode called Stolen Focus. Why is it difficult to pay attention? We're also going to be talking about good intentions, bad ideas, right? I've heard people off the course of my life. I've often heard people say, "But that was not my intention." So we're going to be there's going to be an episode centered around good intentions but bad ideas. As a matter of fact, there's a difference between a resolution and an intention. There is a difference, but we'll talk about that. But I'm talking about good intention, bad ideas, that you can have good intentions that can lead to bad ideas. So we're going to talk about that. And that's just literally out of the mind. We're going to have one episode. We're going to talk about the fact that do you realize that you create things twice? Things are created twice. So literally the episode is going to focus on how things are created twice. And just give you just a taste, but give your taste bud a little something that maybe you weren't aware that things are always created twice. Now, and I think that some of you who've been writing with me will catch this. You know how things are created twice? Once in your mind and once in reality. So do you know that anything that is before you was created in your thought life before it's actually manifested in the physical life? So literally think about that. We're going to have an episode focusing on how, if we create things twice, how it's better to get it right in your head before it manifests in the physical in your hand. So we're going to talk about that, right? And that's just literally that episode is going to focus on. I'm going to touch a little bit of it today. That it's going to focus on our thinking, right? So we're going to be talking about that. So I'm going to hit that. I'm going to have an episode entitled "The Righteous Mind." So I'm going to talk about that, the righteous mind, and you know what that episode is going to be focused on in terms of the righteous mind. That episode, Righteous Mind, is going to focus on how good people get it wrong sometimes. That's going to be a good one. How good people get it wrong sometimes. You do. I've always, not always, but a lot of times I've encountered people who, and you may be guilty of this yourself, where you might say something like, nobody's perfect. So you'll say that nobody's perfect, or you'll say, I'm not perfect, but then proceed to act like you're perfect. So you'll say, I'm not perfect, but you'll behave like you're perfect. Or you'll say something like, I don't always get it right, but you'll proceed as if what you just said is right. Right? So we're going to be talking about the righteous mind, why good people get it wrong sometime. We're still going to do the journey of the scout mind versus the warrior mindset, the scout mindset versus the warrior mindset. So those just some things I'm going to touch on that's going to help us to become a better version of ourselves in 2023. It's going to be great. We're going to have some. I'm telling you, we're going to have some. We're going to have some good stuff. It's going to literally. We're going to have good stuff. So you don't want to miss. I'm going to do my. I'm doing the behind the scenes work so that these things can be accessible to you. So if you can't be there when it's actually live and recorded, you'll be able to go back and play it later. Maybe bring a friend along and you guys can review it later. So I'm going to be doing everything I can to ensure that you'll have access to it. So these it will be accessible in any place where podcasts are posted across podcast platforms. It's going to be on YouTube, so you'll be able to go back on YouTube, tap into YouTube and be able to watch it. So it's just we're just going to be everywhere, and it's going to be good. But those are some of the things that we're going to be discussing on this live study, and I think that it's going to be very, very good. Okay, all right. I want to just give a shout out again. And I'll probably just every now and then just highlight if you're often thinking about something you can sow into or something that you can give to. I'm going to highlight that too. I just believe that I still believe the premise that it is more blessed to give than it is to receive. So, last year, closing out the last year, I highlighted just how impactful your giving is towards the school project that we're doing, New Life Academy. We're reaching and educating kids from kindergarten to sixth grade, and just very positive, got an incredible teaching staff, and we really want that school to be successful. So I want you to include that in your prayers, by all means. But we're going to continue throughout the month of January to let you know that this school is in an area called, essentially, we serve kids in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and Baltimore County. And so it's just it's a great opportunity for you to contribute, to sow, to keep in your prayers and thoughts, to direct your friends to. But it's a private school with small class sizes, but it's a great opportunity for us to see grow and flourish. And so when you hear somebody doing a project like that, of that magnitude, who decides to get into education by not signing up to mentor a kid or signing up to go and read at a school, but to start a school, to open a school. That's as Shannon Sharp would say, no, the Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp, played for the Denver Broncos for most of his career, played 1 year with the Ravens, and then went back and retired Broncos. But he has a saying, "No risk it, no biscuit." And so at the end of the day, who steps out there and takes the opportunity to open up a school for a passion to reach kids, and that's what we do. That's what the Center of Transformation, New Life, and all of our entities. That's what we believe in. We believe that it wouldn't be worth the risk if we didn't have a passion and a heart for it. So, in your circle of friends, conversations, and such, when you think about education, think about New Life Academy. Okay, all right. So let's address a couple of things here. I want to use for a backdrop, if you will, a proverb. I want to use a proverb. So there is a chapter and verse in Proverbs. So I'm going to use a proverb to sort of launch into this study tonight, this life study tonight. So I want to use a proverb, and that proverb is found in chapter 27. So in chapter 27, or is it 27? I want to make sure that I get it right. No, chapter 23. So it's actually 23. So it's the 23rd. It's the 23rd chapter, and it's the 7th verse. And the 23rd chapter, the 7th verse says that, so what a man thinketh, or so what he thinks, that's what he is. Says so whatever he thinks, that's what he is. And the loose translation of that verse. So Proverbs 23:7 says, so what he thinks, so he is. So what a man thinks, that's what he is. And whenever particularly in the Old Testament, so that this doesn't offend it doesn't offend anyone. Particularly the scriptures, when it uses the term man, that whether it's in the Old or the New Testament, when it uses the term man, it's referring to mankind, which is it's inclusive. It's inclusive. It's all inclusive of men and women. Right? So it's all inclusive. So literally in the Greek, that word would be anthropos, is where we get the English word anthropology, which is a study of man. So literally, if it says what a man thinks, you could say what a woman thinks, or what a person thinks. So Proverbs says that what a person thinks, that's what he is. Right? So I want you to think about that for a moment, because that's pivotal in terms of what I want to sort of hit upon tonight. So think about this again. Think about this. What a person thinks, that's what he is. Now this is I want you to wrap your mind around this. what a person thinks, that's what he is. That's what the proverb says. Notice the proverb doesn't say what a person says, that's what he is. You see, a person is not who they are based on what they say. A person is who they are based on what they think they are. You see what I mean? So think about this. Sometimes you could be guilty of window dressing with your words, when in reality, what you're trying to present to people that you are is not consistent with what you thinking that you are. You see, that was the wisdom of Proverbs says. The wisdom of Proverbs says what a person thinks about himself, that's what he actually is. So it's safe to ask then here this fourth day of January 2023. I think it's safe to ask you, who do you really believe you are? Who do you think you are? Remember to say, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? What are you thinking that you are? I'm not interested in who you've told people you are. And I'm not interested in who you're trying to paint to people concerning yourself. What I'm really interested is in what are you thinking concerning yourself? Because what you think of yourself is actually who you are. So you can literally by thinking create the reality of who you are. Remember, I said we're gonna have an episode about how you create things twice. So what I'm thinking is, who are you? Who are you? Who are you really? If you strip away people you're trying to impress, strip away what you trying to get people to think about you, if you can just set all that aside, and then I just want you to think. I know it's as heavy, right? First of the year, but first of the year you need to have it heavy. Okay? So who do you think you are when if you would open your brain right now and do a diagnostic, what would be the conclusion concerning you? Who are you? What it says, whatever a person thinks, that's who he is. Now, if I can come back to this matter of happiness, and talking about being happy, there is a psychologist who did a study on happiness. They did a study on happiness, and then this is what she discovered. In her study, this is what she uncovered. She teaches at the University of California, and and this is what she discovered concerning happiness. She said, of talking about on a scale of 100% in terms of measure, she says that 50% of happiness, 50% of our happiness, your personal happiness, 50% of it, watch this, is genetic. So 50% of your happiness is genetic. Now write that down. This is worth writing down. 50% of your happiness is genetic. That's what she said. 50% of your happiness is genetic. Okay, you with me so far? 10% of your happiness is based on circumstances. All right? Okay, so 10%. So 10% is based or should I say 10% is based on circumstance. So 10% is based on, what I said, circumstance. So 50% of happiness, your happiness is genetic. 10% of your happiness is circumstantial, is situation. That's 10%. Are you getting the math so far? 50% is genetic, 10% is circumstance. So you math people, what does that leave next? So you got 50 plus 10 is 60. What's left? 40%. With me so far? Okay. 40%. Now listen, this is what she found in her study now. 40% of your happiness comes from intentional activities. Wow. Wow. Are you that's 100%. So 50% of your happiness is genetic. 10% of your happiness is circumstantial, but the other 40% is intentional activity. So almost as equal to genetics, a large portion of your happiness is determined by what you do or don't do. Now that should, you see how Proverbs now makes sense? What a person thinks, that's what they are. So get this then. Get this. If you're listening to me, if we're talking about the pursuit of happiness in 2023, if you're not happy, if you came into 2023 unhappy, 50% might be genetic, 10% is circumstantial, but 40% is because you didn't do anything to contribute to your happiness. So 50% you can blame on genetics, 10% you can blame on situations that it went through, but 40% is responsible for why you're not happy. And that 40% has to do with what you did or didn't do intentionally. Wow. 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 You might as well go and throw up your hands and shake them out so there ain't nothing in it that you holding on to. Are you feeling what I'm saying? 40% of happiness, your happiness, not mine. Don't talk about my happiness. 40% of your happiness is related to intentional activity. So if you're listening to the sound of my voice right now and you're not happy, 40% of that happiness is because you're not doing happy things. You're not doing so. It's what you're not doing. See what I mean? See, we try to put a lot of weight on somebody else to make us happy. But you're responsible for your own happiness. So 50% is genetic, 10% is circumstantial, but 40%, so listen, I don't want you to spend time on the 50 or the 10. I want you to spend time on the 40. So literally, if I was your coach, I would get up in your grill and I would tell you, what are you doing? What are you not doing with regards to your own happiness? I would get up in your grill and get busy, because if you're going to have a happy 2023, it's got to be you. This one, listen, this one on you. Let's just say the years before this, let's give that the 50 and the 10. But let's say going forward, this the 40% you got to work, 40% you got to work on. This year is about you finding your happiness. Okay? So you see how that works? 10% you can blame on situations and people. 50% you can blame on probably, you could try to maybe genetics, what was in you, the environment you were involved in and the environment's interaction with you. So you can do all that. But 40%, oh no, this on you. This 40% is on you. So here's the argument. You are awake. Listen, you are awake. Write this down. You are awake 1,000 minutes a day. You're awake 1,000 minutes a day. So that means that the average waking person, or the average waking time for a person per day, is 1,000 minutes. 1,000 minutes. Okay? So for you trying to do the math, 1,000 minutes is about 16 2/3 hours. So 1,000 minutes average is the waking hour of every individual, 1,000 minutes, which is about 16 2/3 hours. Here's what I'm challenging you to do in 2023. I'm challenging you in 2023 to make a decision to do happiness the first 2 minutes of those 1,000 minutes. I want you to give yourself the first 2 minutes of every day in 2023. Can we do that going forward? So today is you can't do anything for these last 4 days, but you can do it tomorrow. For every day in 2023, you give yourself the first 2 minutes of every day. Don't give the first 2 minutes problems. Don't give the first 2 minutes to somebody else. Don't give somebody. give yourself the first 2 minutes. Now you see how low I made it? Just 2 minutes. That's all. Now if those 2 minutes birth more, that's fine. All I'm asking is that you would just commit to 2 minutes. In other words, if you can listen to what I'm saying, if you can prime your brain to be happy 2 minutes every day for the next 362 days, that's literally going to give you 724 minutes of happiness. Because that's 362 times 2, so that's 2 minutes every day. So that's 362 times 2. So that's about 700, and that's about 724. You're going to give yourself 724 minutes of happiness. All I need you to do is 2. So now give me a peace sign. Throw up that peace sign. Go up there, get peace. Deuces. Deuces. Come on, help me now. Give me that deuces, right? 2 minutes. I'm just asking you to make a commitment to 2 minutes every day to make yourself happy. 2 minutes. The first 2 minutes. Listen, now, this is what the scientists said. Now watch this. This is what the social sciences says. Watch this, y'all. I had to put it in my notes. They said that for every 2 minutes of happiness that you prime your brain for, you will have 31% more productivity. Oh, OMG. For every 2 minutes that you give yourself happiness, you become 31% more productive. If you were in sales, they said 2 minutes of happiness, you would have 37% higher sales. Watch this, y'all. If you gave yourself 2 minutes of happiness, you would have 300% more creativity. Whoa. You would have you could have 300% more creativity with just 2 minutes of happiness every day. Listen, the scientists said, psychologists said that if you give yourself 2 minutes of happiness every day, you're 40% more likely to get a promotion in the next 12 months. OMG. Did y'all just hear that? 2 minutes. See, y'all spend too much time overthinking stuff. You spent too much time last year trying to, burn your brain at the midnight hour. What I'm trying to help you in the introduction of this new year is to put you on a path of success. Proverbs says, what a person thinks, that's what they are. So literally, if you can give yourself 2 minutes, if you think you're happy, then you are happy. Wow. You hear that? If you think you're happy, you are happy. And they say it produces 31% more productivity, 37% higher sales, 300% more creativity, and 40% more likely to get a promotion in 12 months. And as a matter of fact, they said, now listen, you're going to love this. Listen, Miss Halima. They said, if you can give yourself 2 minutes, if you give yourself, watch this, Elton. If you can give yourself 2 minutes of happiness, one study say you'll live 10 years longer. Whoa! Oh! If you can give yourself 2 minutes of happiness, a study out of University of Kentucky says that you can add 10 years. Who don't want, listen, I just released a Hezekiah anointing. Y'all, if you're not familiar with Hezekiah got 15 additional years on his life after being told, get your affairs in order. You about to leave this life. He turned his face to the wall. Prophet came back and said, God heard you. You're going to get 15 more years. Listen, when somebody is giving you some information about how to live longer, how you don't have a pen in your hand writing this stuff down? Are you serious right now? Are you kidding me? Somebody just spoke how you can live longer, be more productive, become more creative, have a better promotion, have higher sales, and you don't have a pen in your hand? You don't have a, as my kids who couldn't say pen, they would say pistol. You don't have a pistol in your hand? Because they couldn't say pen. So they say pistol. You don't have a pistol in your hand? You should be writing this down. It should like 10 more years. I can add 10 years to my life simply by doing 2 minutes every morning. Listen, that's what the study says. So you take the study with the scriptures and you put the both of them together, you got a bonanza. The bonanza of the scriptures literally talks about the fact that whatever I think, that's what I am. Not what I say I am, but what I think I am. And if I think I'm happy, then I am happy. That's literally what's put out there. It says literally, it says literally, the verse before that in Proverbs says, don't eat with stingy people. And the reason why I said don't eat with stingy people is because stingy people act like they don't care about the cost, but they lying to you. That's literally what that's what that passage in Proverbs is alluding to. The passage in Proverbs allude to when you go out to eat with a stingy person, if they tell you they don't care about how much it costs, they lying to you, because if they think stingy, they are stingy. That's literally what that is. A person who thinks stingy is stingy. The person who thinks cheap is cheap. The person who thinks dirty is dirty. The person who thinks wrong is wrong. See, the one who thinks is wrong. That's what that passage in Proverbs is alluding to. What a person thinks, that's what they are. So a person who thinks stingy is stingy. I don't care what restaurant he take you to. If a stingy person take you to a high-end restaurant, make sure you have enough money, because you're going to end up having to pay something. Hello. You're going to end up having to pay something. If a stingy person offer to take you to lunch, do not assume they're going to pay for the lunch. Bring your own money. Because if a person thinks stingy, they are stingy. If a person thinks negative, they are negative. Right? That's literally what Proverbs is alluding to, what's on the mind. It's what's in the head more than what's in a person's hand. So I want to challenge you for 2023 to give yourself 2 minutes of happiness every day. Now you can do that, right? Give yourself 2 minutes. And don't make it a resolution, just make it an intention. Just be intent on giving yourself 2 minutes of difference, because resolution, you set yourself up a disappointment, but intention, you give yourself grace. My intention is to give myself 2 minutes every day, but I may forget. Okay, well, I'm not hard on myself. I just give myself 2 minutes the next day. If you make it a resolution and you don't do it, you're like, see there, I can't do nothing right. No. This is a year to be kind to yourself. There's a passage in the New Testament that talks about the fact that when we are super hard on ourselves, God's grace comes in and sort of lifts us up. So I want to kind of get you to do that. So here's how I want to challenge you to do. If we're going to be doing this journey of happiness, we're going to be doing this thing of happiness. Now, let me just say this to you. I don't know if you ever heard this before. You probably, if you have, good. Because remember, if you've never heard it before, it's revelation. If you heard it before, it's confirmation. So let me put this out here, and you can take it as you need. But I think this is a tweetable. I think this is a social media good post here, and that's this. God is responsible for your joy. You are responsible for your happiness. Okay, did y'all hear that? God is responsible for your joy. You are responsible for your happiness. Okay, did y'all miss that? And I know somebody said, is that true? Can you back that up? Sure, I can. Remember this verse? Remember this Bible verse? The joy of the Lord is my strength. You see there? The joy of the Lord is my strength. So my strength is found in joy that comes from God. So God is responsible for your joy, but you're responsible for your happiness. Okay? So now here's a good thing to write down. You can pass along. You can share this with anybody. You can put your name on it and say it came from you. Joy comes from above. Happiness comes from within. Y'all get that? Joy comes from above, but happiness comes from within. So the joy of the Lord is your strength. So your joy comes from God, but the happiness, 40% of it comes from you. 40% of that happiness, 50% is genetic, 10% is circumstantial, but the 40% comes from you. So the way you receive joy from God is you have to surrender to him in order to experience his joy. To get joy from him, you must surrender to him. To get happiness from yourself, you have to engage in intentional activity to get the happiness that you're looking for. Intentional activity is where you find your happiness. Surrender is where you find your joy. See the difference? That's the balance. Surrender to God, you find joy. Be intentional in activity, you find happiness. Joy comes from above, happiness comes from within. I just set somebody's 2023 up for big. That's big right there. You understand? So joy comes from, he's responsible for your joy, but you can only get that joy by surrendering to him. But you're responsible for your happiness. You only get that happiness by being intentional in your activities. You have to be careful what you choose to do, because what you choose to do determines 40% of your happiness. So if you don't like the balance of your happiness, choose differently. Choose wisely. Some of our unhappiness is related to our choices. Our unhappiness is related to the choice. See, remember, if you're unhappy, you can only blame 10% of circumstances and people on it. So literally 10%, it can be equated to one act or one action that points to your unhappiness. But 40% is pointed to what you're not doing. So let me just ask you this. What are you going to do intentionally this year to generate happiness? And what are you going to do to surrender to your God for that joy? He provides the joy, you generate the happiness. Your choices is what determine your happiness this year. It's your choice. It's your choices. Okay, so I want you to think about that. That's just who. So what I would love for you to do is with the 2-minute thing. What I would love for you to do is I would love for you to set a timer for 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, I just want you to just do something that makes you happy. Whether it's writing or painting or drawing or reading or whatever. Just, it's your time. It belongs to you. What in those 2 minutes, what makes you happy? Okay? That's what makes you happy. So joy comes from God. Listen, how about this? Remember this verse? I know you do. It says, weeping may endure for a night, but what comes in the morning? Joy. But so joy comes in the morning, but you didn't do anything to generate that joy. Your joy, what did you do? You wept. Notice it says weeping may endure. That's you, but joy ain't got nothing to do with you. You have nothing to do with that joy that came in the morning. God delivered the joy in the morning. Your tears is what listen, it went ahead of the joy. It went ahead of the joy. Joy came in the morning by default of the morning. So God provides the joy. Your job is to provide the happiness. So you got 2 minutes for you time, you happiness. 2 minutes for the next 362 days, 361 day, 361 day, 722 days that you can have of happiness. Jimmy, you ain't gonna tell me, you ain't not gonna tell me you can't be happy this year. Sure you can. You're like, but I don't, if you say to me, well, I don't know what to do, then that literally tells me, and I would tell you as a clinician, that if you say back to me, I don't know what makes me happy, then I would tell you clinically, you have allowed too many other people to determine your happiness. If you don't know what makes you happy, then you've allowed too many other people and situations to determine your happiness. You've allowed too many people, you've relied on too many things to determine your happiness. If you don't know, if you can't tell me right now, at this very moment, if you were sitting across from me, if you can't tell me what makes you happy, then that meant that you allow too many people and other situations to determine your happiness. If you can't tell me what makes you happy. And then, can I talk to the church folks? Let me talk to the church people on here. Let me talk to the church people. There's about 70 of them on tonight. Let me talk to the church people. You church people who don't believe that it's Bible to be happy, something wrong with y'all. Something wrong with y'all. You know, because cultural, biblical church tradition preaches and teaches that we're not allowed to be happy. That somehow being happy is a sin. That being happy is selfish. If you're happy, you can't be happy. Part of your right as a Christian is to throw yourself on the altar of being unhappy. So you're not supposed to be happy. So you're supposed to be a miserable. Listen, I have probably preached as a pastor, as a minister. I have probably preached in over 300 churches throughout my calling. Over 300 churches in over half of the United States on 3 continents. And I have preached in, Methodist, AME, United Methodist. I've preached in Catholic churches, Baptist, Independent, Progressive, National, First, Church of God in Christ, Church of God, Assemblies of God. I have preached in non-denominational branches of churches and ministries. I preached in cold climates, warm climates, hot-tempered climates. I preached in churches where there was no air conditioning. I preached in churches where I wish I had a Parker in the pulpit. I preached up north, down south, Midwest, West Coast, Northwest, Midwest, down in the South. I've been to Texas and Michigan and California and Washington State and Massachusetts and Illinois and Indiana and Ohio and Florida and Virginia and North Carolina and Georgia and Pennsylvania. I just been some of everywhere, and East Africa, West Africa, London. I've been all over the place. And some of the most miserable people have been people sitting in churches. Some of the most miserable people that I've encountered are people sitting in churches. I'm like, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Miserable because somebody taught you that you're not supposed to be happy. That your Christian suffrage is to be miserable. And you so stuck on it that can't nobody say anything different. You put up a defense to be miserable. I mean, you're defending being miserable. I've never heard any of. I can't say I've never heard because I have been doing this over almost 4 decades. But the people who actually defend being miserable in the church, they defend it. They defend that you're not supposed to be happy. They defend as if somehow, if you were happy, it would mean you would be taking advantage of God's grace. If you were happy, it means that you would be selfish and you wouldn't be fulfilling the calling of Christ. Because Christ, listen, here's what happens. Y'all preach as if Christ was never happy. So if Christ wasn't happy and I'm a disciple of Christ, then I'm not supposed to be happy. What the what? You can't, listen, can I tell y'all something? You can't not be happy and turn water into wine. You can't not be happy. But what was he unhappy to turn that water into wine? You know what? This is just so miserable. These drunken fools. No, he turned that water into wine. You cannot not be happy and get invited to somebody's house for dinner and get there and be like, hey, we're not going to be happy in here. We're not going to celebrate. Really? Come on now. Are you kidding me? And yet we perpetuate that theology throughout churchdom, Christendom, that happiness is not a birthright of the believer because somehow or another, if you're happy, you're not righteous. You're not a God. And that's all but a bunch of foolishness. I'm gonna prove it to you. Y'all remember the Beatitudes? If you don't, that's okay. There's in the Bible, in the Gospel of Matthew, called the Beatitudes. The Beatitude, the Beatitudes, the Beatitudes. That's what they call it, the Beatitudes. And you remember the Beatitudes, the King James Version said, "Blessed is he who thirsts and hunger after. Blessed are the poor. Blessed, blessed, blessed," right? Blessed, 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 blessed. Did you know that the real translation of the word blessed is happy? So Jesus was literally in that section called the Beatitudes. The King James says blessed, but the translation, the real English translation says, this is how happy a person can be. A person can be happy when they hunger for God. There it is. You see what I'm saying? The happy is all in the book. But you sit around listening to somebody tell you that you're sentenced to a life of misery. And now you come to God dragging. I will, God, I promise if you get me out, I'll be the saddest, most miserable looking person. Why do you think Jesus told them? Watch this, Elder Wayne. They ain't listening to me. Why do you think Jesus told them that when you fast, go wash your face? Wash your face so that people are not drawn to how hungry you might be. Go wash your face. In other words, put a countenance on and go on about doing what you're supposed to do. We walking around like, what's wrong with you? I'm fasting. What? Why you gotta look like that? I'm fasting. So that's what it looks like? Mouth all twisted up, all twist. What's wrong with you? I'm fasting. I'm fasting for love. What you doing? Listen, how about this? How about this? There's a passage where it says that this is what Paul said. This is what the Apostle Paul now, the guy who like top-notch study and all this kind of stuff and decided to set it all aside and just become this zealot for God. Do you know that he said that God loved a cheerful giver? Do you know that cheerful in that passage means hilarious? You know what's associated with hilarious? Laughter, happiness. God loves a happy giver. When it comes to giving, I've never seen so many sad people in the church around giving time. I'm like, oh my gosh. I've seen sad people when it comes to giving. It's like it hurts you to give. And yet, God, it never hurts him to give to you. It never hurts him to give to you. But it's like it hurts you. It's like people have to open and force your finger up and you fighting and you all hurt. Listen, happiness is a real thing. Thank you, Ross. That's so true. You're happy to receive it, but man, when it comes to give, you like in pain. Listen, I told y'all, I have preached all over this country and on 3 continents. Over 300 churches. No exaggeration. And when it comes to giving, I think I've only saw in 2 churches where people actually came dancing to give. But that's a rarity. When it comes to give, they're just people just come. That's almost like I think that giving time in the church mirrors most like a funeral. Just people just all slow, and then you can just hear it. Dun 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 dun. Dun. I can just hear the music in my head. Dun 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 dun, and I'm like, wow. That's like that's one song, Lorraine. They need to, that's one song they need to get out of the church. This is one song. That's why I don't even sing it anymore. This is one song they need to get rid of in the church. It goes like this. You can Be God's giving. That's so sad. No matter how you try, the more you give, the more he gives to you. That's so sad. Oh my goodness, that is so sad. That's sad. Just keep on trusting because it's really true that you can be God. It's so sad. Oh my gosh. I'm like, they need to retire that song and like nobody should ever bring it out again. Just like a slow, just a like, I mean, just unhappy. No, thank you. No matter, that it's hard to convince people who go to church to be happy. The late McFarlane would say, "Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy." Or Pharrell, if you're happy, clap along. If you feel like, right? Listen, like if you're happy, that song by Pharrell was translated in language. I mean, people in Muslim countries got in trouble for singing that song because some countries don't want you to be happy. You go to some countries, and it seems like the whole country is sad. You go to some block or neighborhood, the whole block. Listen, I've been in churches maybe where the one whole row is sad. You know the row that I've seen where they most sad is when there's a family event and the family has been invited to a baptism or a child dedication. You can tell them folks ain't been in church because the whole section be sad. The whole section. The whole side of church. It's like the whole side of the church they be sad. You be like, oh my gosh. It's like, did they get dragged here? Because they're not happy about being here. They got dragged here, and the whole side, no, they all sitting there, like, they just sitting there. And then the person who is a member of the church feels kind of awkward because they're used to standing up and clapping along and say it, Pastor. But that I just watch them because then the whole time they conform to the attitudes of their family because they don't want to and so they sitting there. So a person who's typically, animated and stuff like that is subdued because that's how contagious sadness could be. That's how contagious. That's why what I'm saying to you is that's why you can't rely on people for your happiness. Anyway, did I get off script? No, I didn't. I'm good. All right, so 2 minutes, y'all. 2 minutes a day. So all I'm asking, I'm just asking for you to give yourself 2 minutes every day of happiness. 2 minutes. I'm sorry, I was messing with church folks because I don't mean to be messing with y'all traditions and stuff like that. So anyway, I just went down that road because I can, right? I know that people are going to be listening to this podcast later and they're going to be like, wow, he went off on church. Well, for those of you listening, I can talk about church folks because I'm a church person. Okay. I've been churched up for years. Okay. All right. 2 minutes. Now, here 4 things for next week that I'm gonna with regards to helping you not only in this pursuit of happiness, but helping you to be creative because that's literally what I wanted to talk about is creativity. Because so for the next month or so, I'm going to be talking about, and it's still a part of the some of the scout mindset. But I really want to help you become creative. So much of what I'm going to be talking about for the rest of this month is creativity. So to kick it off, remember what I said, 2 minutes of happiness. That is 2 minutes to give yourself happy produces 300% of creativity. 300% of creativity. 2 minutes of happiness every day produces 300% of creativity. So this is really about, I'm really trying to encourage you to be creative. So I talked about functional fixedness, and you'll hear me introduce that again. I talked about it on Sunday, but the functional fixedness has to do with being limited when it comes to creativity. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you break out of that block. I want 2023 to be your most creative year. All right. So can you write that down? Write that across the notes. 2023 will become my most creative year. Right? Write that down in your notes. Write it down as an affirmation. This would be my most creative year. You know, one of my affirmations that I recite to myself every single day is one of my affirmations. I am created to be creative. It's one of my affirmations that I recite every single morning. I am created to be creative. I'm created to be creative. And I said, that's one of my affirmations. It's been a powerful affirmation that helps me not to get stuck. It's one of my affirmations that helped me to look beyond a situation that I think cannot be worked out. It helps me to see different, the familiar. It's about being creative. And 2023 can be your most creative year if you believe it. Because what a person thinks, that's what they are. So if you can believe it, you can be. I literally want you to write 2023 will be my most creative year. And I want that to be your affirmation. 2023 will be my most creative year. Be my most creative year. And I'm going to release you to be creative. Okay? 2023, thank you. Y'all write that down. Can y'all put that in the chat if you're listening to me? 2023 will be my most creative year. Will be my most creative year. You say it as if it's already going to be done. It will be my most creative year. I refuse to be stuck this year. I refuse to be get locked into a cul-de-sac. You know, a cul-de-sac is one way in and only one way out. So I'm not going to be in a cul-de-sac this year. 2023 will be my most creative year. That's going to be our affirmation. That 2023 is going to be our most creative year. And there's 4 things that I'm going to help you with regards to creativity. Write these 4 things down. I'll elaborate more about them next week. But these 4 things is what I'm going to elaborate on that's going to help you with this creativity. Now, if you want to be creative, you want to be more creative, then I need you to come back. But I also need you to bring somebody else who's stuck. Because here's the thing, somebody mentioned the word draining earlier. You're trying to be creative enough for you, and sometimes you don't have enough creativity for you and somebody else. So they need to come to figure out and to listen about how they too can be creative. Sometimes you don't have enough creativity for you and the whole band of people who follow you and support you. Sometimes you have it just enough for you. Okay? So if your desire to break out, like somebody said, no more dead ends. That's like no more dead ends, no more cul-de-sacs. This is going to be my most creative year. I'm going to be most creative. I'm not going to even panic if I hit a dead end. I'm not going to even panic, because there's got to be a way out. There will be a way out. There will be a turnaround. There's a workaround. I'm not going to. Don't even panic, because there is always another way. Remember, who would ever thought that you can use olive oil for cooking and putting oil in your skin? Who'd ever thought that you could use toothpaste to brush your teeth and to clean jewelry? Who would have ever thought that there are things out there that you get so familiar with it that you don't see that it can be used for something else? That you can listen, you're so familiar with your life that you don't believe that your life can do something else or become something else, and yet it can. You can do something different with your life. Are you hearing me tonight? You can do something different with your life. You're not sentenced to repeat the same stuff. You're not sentenced. God has not sentenced you to repeat the same behavior and to be stuck doing the same stuff. You've not been sentenced. The beauty of our life is we get a chance to do something different with even with the same life. You get to do something different. I've seen ladies do so much with a package of hair. Mabel, stop it. I've seen women do a whole lot of things with a pack of hair. I'm like, what? They go in the store and it'll be a pack of hair, and then 2 days later it'd be wound one way, or it'd be laying on the other side, or it'd be braided, or it'd be odd. That hair be you can if y'all can be creative with hair. Come on now, you can be creative with hair, and you can be creative with food, and you can be creative with you see the different nail stuff, be coming out. Every fingernail has a different thing, studs here and red, white, and blue. You can be creative with that. You be creative with, if you can be creative with all of that, you can be creative with your life. You can be creative with your life. You know why? Because we all have come from our Creator. You know He's creative. Look at what He created. Go back to Genesis. Look at what He created. 6 days. Look at what He created. He's a creator, and He created us out of His image. So He created us out of His image, which means that we're His image. If He's a creator, then you're a creator. You know what we call them on social media? We call them content creators, because they create content. Well, if they can create content, you can create content for your life. You are a creator because you come from a creator. A creator produces a creator, so you've been created to create. So in 2023, let's get ready to create something. Let's create. And let 40% of what we create make us the happiest we have ever been. Okay, let me give you these 4 things real quick, and I got to jump off. I'm going to talk about fluency. 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 Write that down. I'm going to be talking about fluency. And that's going to be related to the ability to generate a lot of options. Come on here. I heard a guy once told me that he was so blessed that his option had options. Yeah, I so love that. When your options have options, come on now. When your options got options. That's fluency, the ability to generate lots of options. Who don't want that? Yeah, raise your hand. I want that. To be able to generate options, to realize that I don't just have one option, but I got many options. Here's the second thing. So fluency is the first thing. The second thing I'm going to be talking to in terms of developing creativity is flexibility. To be flexible. That's a part of creativity is being flexible. So the flexibility that I'm going to be helping you with and teaching you with is to help you find the ability to find options in many different categories. So fluency is generating options. Flexibility is finding options in different categories. All right? So fluency is the ability to generate lots of options. Flexibility is the ability to find options in many different categories. Some of you are going to find, by being creative, you're going to find options in areas that you didn't even think was open to you. Okay? All right. Number 3, originality. We're talking about originality. And a part of this journey of originality is the ability to think of unique and novel ideas. Originality is going to be about thinking outside of the box. I want to teach you through this life study how to think outside of the box. Oh my goodness, this is going to be so good. Do y'all hear this? This is going to be so good. And then the 4th one is elaboration. And elaboration is going to focus on the ability to expand on an option to make it more interesting. That's what elaboration is. It's literally how to make that option more interesting. So what am I saying about fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration? What am I saying in all this? What I'm saying to you if you're listening to me tonight as I wrap this up, that creativity can be learned, my friends. It can be learned. Creativity can be learned. And if you stick with me over these next several weeks, as I weave you through fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration, you will learn how to be creative. And all I ask in return is that you don't think stingy when you buy me lunch. No, don't have me order the number one at McDonald's because I ain't gonna appreciate it. Don't You when you generate that money and you get that paper, just remember where your help came from. Okay, so don't be don't be don't be just thinking of me as an afterthought and go into the supermarket like, oh, I don't have time to really buy him something, so I'm just gonna pick one of these gift cards off the turnstile. While, by the way, while I'm purchasing my own groceries. Anyway, fluency, flexibility, originality, elaboration. It's gonna be good. It's literally gonna be good. I want to listen. I don't know about you, but I want to be creative. So what I'm helping, I'm letting you peek in to things that I'm teaching myself. I have projects that I'm working on, things that I'm doing, and this is going to be my most creative year. So I'm just inviting all of you on the journey so that you can have your most creative year too. And let's have some fun at it. Okay? All right. So thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of this first study, life study of 2023. And I got the awesome opportunity to be your host. And we're just getting started. We're going to have some fun. So if you believe that this has benefited you today, then by all means ensure that you invite somebody else next week. And we're just going to keep on growing and we're going to keep on doing. But just remember this: what a person thinks, that's what they are. So think happy, you are happy. Okay. I'll talk to y'all later. And don't forget New Life Academy. Don't forget New Life Academy. Keep them in your thoughts, keep them in your prayers. The students, the young scholars that we designate them as, it's huge. It's huge. It's an amazing undertaking. And it's going to be successful. No question about it. It's going to be successful. It's going to be successful. No question. It's going to be successful. And we're going to raise up future generation of leaders and doctors and plumbers and entrepreneurs and senators and congresspeople and painters and you just name it, jewelry makers and athletes and and in that school, teachers themselves and principals and administrators and of all across all kinds of lines. It's going to be amazing, and I love so much. So thank you to all of you who gave a donation to the school last year. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, the supplies and the things that we're going to be able to do for these kids, just simply amazing. And we're working on scholarship projects so that we can scholarship a group of kids in the school just to get them into this environment. We have at least four African American males in the school, modeled representation in